So what we'll talk about today, science in action, why study science, science at the U of M, what is currently going on in some of the departments, what you can do with a science degree, what is a degree, we'll break it down for you. Sorry, those are my puppies. How to enhance your science degree with experiences at the U of M, how we can support you, how you can prepare for remote learning. I'll let the students talk more about that too. And then what's next? Now that you're a student, what to expect throughout the summer. So these are some of the different areas that you can study in science. We do have over 56 programs between major honors and joint programs. So these departments and programs are just a sample of what you can study. So some examples of what scientists are doing. What is happening in the world right now with the pandemic is one really great example of what scientists are doing. The U of M does have researchers that are working on a vaccine and studying COVID, but it's not just the microbiologists and chemists that are needed during this time. We have mathematicians at the U of M who have received a grant to look into community transmission of the virus, if the virus can be modeled accurately, and offer insight into whether travel restrictions, increased isolation, or social distancing will continue to be necessary. We have computer scientists that are creating an app to use in disease outbreaks where it shares location with health authorities. There are many different departments working together for this one cause. Although it may feel like COVID is the only thing going on right now, we do have lots of other things happening in science too. In stats, we have statisticians who helps professional sports teams pick the next season's new players, or a member of the data science team on an election campaign. They also work in IT industry in Amazon or Google. Math and stats are used to develop page ranks that Google uses when searching. We have students working to create self-driving cars in computer science. So the student pictured is on a co-op in San Francisco working on self-driving cars. They also work on reality applications for e-commerce to enhance online shopping experiences. Computer scientists are working on bioinformatics and using DNA to look for known problems. Our computer science department at the U of M has a cutting-edge virtual reality lab, and they also work on making robots and studying how they can work with people. Computer science is also working on ways to make Wi-Fi more effective and to use less battery power in your devices. In other departments, biologists are working on world food security and protecting Canada's crops. Scientists are looking at how we can make bigger, better plants. How do we make plants that have more nutrition? How do we protect these plants against disease? In downtown Winnipeg, there's a lab where scientists check the DNA of wheat that is being exported to ensure the customer is getting the correct strain of wheat. Scientists are working on antimicrobial resistance and the discovery and design of new drugs. As you may know, we have the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg, and they were the group that confirmed new cases of coronavirus. Scientists in Manitoba are investigating chronic inflammatory diseases such as asthma and arthritis. So those are just some examples of what scientists are doing. There are a ton of different jobs that are available with a science degree. Jobs such as research or consultant positions in the federal provincial government, quality control, food and beverage, sales and support in the industry, bioinformatics, public health, conservation, IT industry, and some jobs that aren't even created yet. Think about the advancements that are going to take place in the 4 to 5 years that you'll be in school and what kind of jobs will be available then. 4 to 5 years can sound like a long time until you finish your degree, but it's really not. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities that are going to be available to you when you graduate. A science degree will also provide you with a good foundation for entrance into professional healthcare programs, such as education, medicine, law, pharmacy, occupational therapy, and nursing. So what is a degree? Well, a degree is a bachelor's degree or an undergraduate degree is the same thing. It's your first degree. Most undergraduate bachelor's degree requires around 4 years to complete. The Faculty of Science does offer an undergraduate degree that is 3 years in length. We find the average time it takes a student to complete any of our degrees is 5 years. There is no time limit to your degree, and it is different for every student how you'd like to manage your time here. Every student has different responsibilities that could affect your course load. You may work part-time, join student groups, sports, money, family responsibilities. So those are all going into the decisions that you make for the amount of courses you want to take in a term, and ultimately how long it's going to take to complete your degree. Your degree is made up of different courses, including major courses in the area that you're focused in, electives or choice courses, and other required courses. You take these courses as you move through your degree, so each year has a little bit of everything. We allow students to make the choice as to what courses they want to take each year, and advisors just guide them to make sure they are meeting degree requirements. If you are a first-year student, you only need to know the different areas that you're interested in. Many areas in science overlap a lot in the first year as you gain your foundational knowledge. Keep in mind that you can move into a 4-year major degree or the honors degree at any time. You just have to meet the specific requirements for entry into that degree. If you declare a program, you aren't stuck or forced to finish that degree. So take the first 2 years to explore different areas of interest, as all your courses can be used in the degree. If you're a transfer student or a second degree student, this changes a little bit depending on the courses that you have already completed. It also depends on what has been evaluated for credit at the U of M as to what is being used in your degree. If you've already completed the first year, then you most likely are looking at taking second or third year courses. We'll talk a little bit later on about how to know where you are in your degree and what you should be taking. So this is a picture of the London Tube map, but it can also be your mind when you're trying to figure out your degree. So parallel planning is important. You'll be exposed to a number of new concepts and ideas you didn't know existed. Therefore, your mind is going to change multiple times about what you want to do. So keep your options open with electives. This way, you're able to explore alternatives, especially if you're interested in programs like dentistry, pharmacy, medicine, law. If you're focused on getting into those programs, you'll miss out on opportunities that are available to you, and these opportunities can make you a better candidate for admission. Some of these opportunities are research, co-op, exchanges, opportunities that we'll talk about later on. Also, your idea of what you'd like to pursue might change by taking advantage of these opportunities. Most courses can be interchangeable within a degree in your first 2 years, so don't be scared to take a random course because you will be able to use it. We really want to put emphasis on being confident when you're making decisions about your degree. You have tons of resources available to you to help make confident decisions. Advisors are here to help you and assist you, but we really want you to curate your degree. We cannot decide what degree is right for you. Some of the resources that you may have already seen are the Get Ready to Register sessions, the First Year Planning Guide, Achieve, the academic calendar, which is really the best place to look for rules about the university and about your degree. And these are just some of the resources you can use to figure out classes for your degree. So one of the resources I talked about is Achieve. Achieve is a degree audit program, which means it runs automated program checks. It's not just for science, it has every degree on campus. If you're bringing in AP or IB grades, they will show here. For transfer students should check their statement of transfer credit on Aurora to see what has been evaluated. If there are still courses that you're waiting for evaluations, it'll keep being updated throughout the summer. But if your transfer courses are in Aurora, they will show up on Achieve. When you're registering for courses, as soon as you register for a course, you can run an audit in Achieve. The courses will show up there. If you drop a course, it'll automatically update as well. We ask that you please watch the tutorials available on Achieve's website. You can just search the University of Manitoba's website by putting in Achieve. It's important to check every section of the audit, not just look at the charts that you can see in the picture. This way, it helps you understand the layout of the degree, but also you're making sure that you're completing every aspect of your degree. Unfortunately, if you are a second degree student, UMAchieve is not available for you. We do recommend speaking with an advisor. So hopefully you've already had a chance to look at the first year planning guide. If not, we recommend you look at it before registering, even if it's not your first year in university. All of the information that is in the guide comes directly from advisors. So some of the things in the first year planning guide, definitions, what is a credit hour, VW, revision period, a new language that you're going to have to learn, and all of these terms come very easily to us as we've been using them for years, so you need to start being comfortable using them as well. The first year planning guide can also help you decide what courses to take in your first year. If you've looked at the first year planning guide, you'll notice that many of the courses required for our programs overlap. So for example, a physics course can be used in a genetics degree. So if you change your mind later on, the courses can still be used. It can also help you determine course load, course planning, and how to register for courses. So a degree is just one step in your career. Employers are looking for candidates who have a diversity of experiences, and some of the most successful students are those who get involved in things other than classes. So some things like co-op. Almost all of our science programs have a co-op option. Co-op is 3 4-month paid work terms. You alternate between school and work. You normally apply for co-op at the end of your second year. Co-op is a great way to try out different places of work while you're still working on your degree, and there's opportunity for travel with international co-op. There are opportunities for research awards or jobs in labs to gain practical experience. There's paid experience like summer research awards, exchanges, volunteer abroad. International experience always looks great on a resume, and it's a unique experience. There's over 150 student groups at the U of M, so you can find people with similar interests. The Student Life Office offers travel experiences, mentorship programs, peer advisor, and the student government leader through the Science Student Association, the SSA. That's science is government, so there's lots of different positions that you can do with them as well. And we find that when you're investing your time into these student experience opportunities, it's going to help you with your studies as well. Investing your time into university enhances your experience. So how can we help you? The U of M offers a variety of supports to our students. Science advisors are your frontline support as you adjust to being a student. We are available to talk about, are you in the right courses, planning ahead for your program, problem solving, course load, personal issues that may affect your schooling, referrals to other resources. So when you don't know where to go, your first step is to contact a science advisor. Right now, we are available through email and phone. U of M offers a career services department that works with students from everything from looking at their career options to writing a resume and searching for jobs. Your profs and your TAs are expert in their content, so if you're struggling, please reach out to them to ask questions. You can set up a meeting by emailing them. Help centers, so a lot of the departments have help centers available. Tutors, the Science Student Association offers free tutors. There's supplemental instruction through the Academic Learning Center. And we also offer high school prep courses in case you didn't get a chance to take the grade 12 science course that you need. So I'll talk a little bit about preparing for remote learning, but I'll leave most of it up to the students. So as some of you may have already experienced remote learning in your grade 12 courses, it'll be that way for the fall term as well. So if you did have any grade 12 course interruptions, you might have to find a way to make up for the content that you're missing. Many school divisions are offering summer school for students. Some school divisions are charging fees for summer school. So if you do need to retake a course, you can take it through them. There's also a place called JobWorks that offers the 40S courses too. And then the U of M does offer skills courses. So you can take some 40S courses through the U of M as well. Normally, the first few chapters in the textbook for courses are a review, but many professors are looking at teaching those sections. And most importantly, if you are struggling when you come to university, talk to your professor and talk to an advisor, and we can figure out the best way to help you. If you've looked at the class schedule for the upcoming year, you'll notice that many courses in science have labs. We hope to have an on-campus lab experience during the fall semester. If you are not in Winnipeg during the fall term, you'll need to be in Winnipeg in early January to make up that lab work. You'll need to take quarantine times into effect and any travel restrictions that are going on at that time as well. So remote learning, classes are scheduled in real time. That means that students must have access to a computer and an internet connection at that scheduled time. It can require greater concentration than sitting in the classroom, as you have to focus on the screen while listening actively and blocking out whatever is going around you. If you've been bored or zoned out while I've been speaking, this is just an example of what remote learning is going to look like. So make sure that you're kind of taking that into consideration when you're looking at courses. It can also take more time to get in touch with your instructors, so make sure you're contacting them early as well. But I will let the students talk more about this. So now that you've been accepted, what's next? Well, registration begins on July 13th. Not everyone registers on July 13th. You can log into Aurora on July 10th to see your official registration time. We ask that you register on your registration time. Do not wait even a couple days later. For first year students, this is the only time that you're going to have first dibs at the first year courses. So if you wait till later on in the summer, you may miss out on space in courses. You register for both fall and winter on your time of registration. Second degree students should have received an email from science about their next steps. Some helpful tips. If you're having problems with registration, please call our office. Emails can take up to 5 business days to answer. So even if you're on hold for a long time or you have to request a callback, it will be faster to get a hold of us through the phone during registration. For fees, the registrar's office does have a website that breaks down your fees, but it says that a 3 credit hour science course, not including textbooks or lab supplies, is around $450 domestic. Currently, all in-person tuition fee payments are suspended, so you'll have to make online payments through a financial institution. The bookstore offers in-store pickup and delivery of textbooks. Online orders are credit card only, but students can phone or email in orders and pay at the bookstore. The bookstore is available in person starting August 4th with social distancing in effect, so please see their website for more information. If you haven't done so already, make sure you've activated your My Manitoba email. All of the important information that you need will go there. Keep checking your email and the First Year Center website and the science website throughout the summer for more information. The science website has degree and programming, research opportunities, co-op, academic resources, so lots of good information there. And then make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for more information. So that's it for me. Let me see if I can share our polls. Okay, so lots of first year direct entry students here today, some transfer, second degree, and then a few international students. So it looks like we have a little bit of everything, lots of completing science degree, looking for professional programs, and undecided as well. And then most of you have checked out the first year planning guide, which is great too. So I will hand it off to Thomas, Dennis, and Taylor.
Hey everyone, my name is Thomas. I'm in my 4th year of my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology degree. Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis, and I'm doing a honors degree in biological sciences, and I'm entering my 4th year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor. I'm in my 3rd year of my Bachelor of Science degree, working on a major in psychology and a minor in biological science.
So I wanted to start off by touching on what exactly you'll need to do to be successful with remote learning. So one of the key points that I always bring up is being ready for lecture. So that means being prepared and on time. So you have to kind of treat the online lectures as if they're in-person lectures, and that's going to help with your success. So, you have to eat your breakfast, get dressed, and make sure you're appropriate for the camera. It's super important because we're in a professional setting. Don't just roll out of bed, and you might want to be prepared to take notes, right? Have a pen and paper beside you, be ready, and set up a workstation. Because if you do all of that, you're more likely going to have the materials needed to study for your exams. The next thing that I want to bring up is making a study schedule. Now, this is super important. You're going to realize quickly that online learning actually takes more time than in-person lecture, and it's going to be challenging to plan. So to keep track of all your assignments and exams, I'd recommend getting a calendar and putting those dates in, and then working backwards, setting up what days you'll do what units in terms of your studying, and hopefully that will give you enough time to be prepared for those assignments and exams. The worst thing you can do is to leave things to the last minute. Trust me, as a university student, we've all been there, and it's not fun. The next thing is to take mental breaks. So eventually you're going to feel the pressure of online learning. It's going to get to you. And in conjunction with all your other commitments, like family and volunteering and anything else, it's going to get stressful. So you have to remember just to take a deep breath and take some breaks. Now, this doesn't mean you can be lazy, but make sure to get your fresh air. It's super important. I've actually written an article for you guys. There's a link in the chat that I think one of the other advisors is going to be posting. So feel free to check it out, and there's some very helpful tips in there. And if Leslie, you can change the slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so I want to go over some of the challenges of remote learning as well. One of the biggest challenges, in my opinion, is dealing with distractions at home. So, you're going to have your phone beside you. You're going to get notifications from your friends. People are going to want to talk to you. You're going to want to check Instagram and other forms of social media. I would recommend putting your phone in a completely different room even, and, don't touch it for that time that you want to set aside for studying. 1 or 2 hours without social media isn't going to kill you. Just remember why you're doing all of this. It's so that you can, form a career, and that's going to help you in terms of motivating yourself for online learning. It's really hard to get started sometimes, and I would just think about your goals and try and determine, if this is the right career for you. The next thing that I want to kind of touch upon is the courses you'll be taking. So it's really difficult to get motivated if you're not taking courses that interest you. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is, feel free to take some electives. They're going to count towards in your degree later on. Those electives are going to help you gain interest, and it's most likely that you're going to do better in those courses. One of the misconceptions is that online learning is easier than remote learning. And I can truthfully say that's not true at all. If anything, online learning takes twice as much time in terms of preparation and studying than in-person learning does, just because you have to teach yourself, and the professor's not going to be physically there with you to actually help you through the material. Also, some of the resources like tutors that we have on campus won't be available. And going into that, reaching out to your professor. So they're going to have limited office hours. You still will be able to contact them, but it's going to take a while for them to actually get back to you. And no one's going to make sure that you're getting the studying done. You have to take the initiative and be self-reliant enough to contact your professors and ask them the questions directly in a professional way. And with that said, I'll go to Thomas, and he's going to talk a little bit about professionalism.
Right, guys. So I'm going to talk about being a developing professional, which is what I think university is all about. So the first point I'm going to talk about is acting like a professional. So what I mean by that is when you enter university, you're no longer a high school student where your teachers kind of hold your hand or ask you if you need help. If you need any help with anything, you're the one who's going to have to reach out to them and talk to them about things. It's also about something that Dennis said earlier about being prepared for your lectures and looking appropriate and acting appropriate when you're contacting other staff members at university. And these professional attributes are critical for developing the skills to be professional in the workplace in your career for the next 40 years or however long you're working. The next thing that I want to talk about is due dates and deadlines. Especially with online learning and distance education learning, it's very easy to forget about deadlines and let things slip. So it's a really good idea to have an agenda going, maybe a calendar, or however you like to organize yourself, and something to hold you accountable. Maybe having reminders in your phone or on your computer so that you don't miss any dates, especially considering it's online and distance. This next point about being checked in definitely echoes something that Dennis said. It's important to get yourself ready for your lectures, whether they're an online lecture at 8:30 in the morning. It's important to be ready to learn, take notes, and have that material ready to study for the final exam. The information that you're going to be learning isn't stuff to just finish a course. This is material that you're going to be using possibly in your career. This is very important information that you're signing up to learn and become a professional. So it's important to keep that in mind. The final point here is about writing an email. Now, most of the communication that you do in the next year for sure is going to be online, just based on the online and distance learning that we're having. So you might find yourself in a position where you need to email a TA, a professor, or another staff member on campus. So if Leslie, you want to go to the next slide, I have an example of an email that I drafted up and has a lot of elements that are a really good email. So we're going to talk about those a little bit. The first email there, psych.prof@umanitoba.ca, is not a real email, so don't email that hypothetical thing because I made it up. But you can usually find the professor or the staff member's email online in the syllabus for the course, or even on Aurora, they have a little mail button when you look up the class. So that's where you're going to find the U of M email. Be sure to send the email from your U of M email and your U of M email only. That'll help them identify you more easily, and that's also the university policy. In the subject bar, you want to have like a short description of the nature of your email. That'll help your professor or the staff member on campus better organize their email inbox and better help you. In my first line there, I say, "Hi, professor." Address them as with their title. That should be pretty straightforward. And in the next line, you want to make a point of identifying who you are. I would include your student number and your name and how you might know this professor or staff member. So identifying which section you're in of their course and which course of theirs you're taking. Bear in mind, some professors are teaching multiple sections of the same course. So it would be a good idea if they had an idea of which section you're referring to. And in the actual details of the email, you want to keep it as concise and as clear as possible. In this case, the student wanted some clarification about an assignment. By no means is this like a very long email, and it doesn't need to be. It's something quick that the professor can see and probably answer reasonably so. Another thing to keep in mind, a lot of professors are doing research, kind of like what Leslie mentioned, or have multiple sections of a course. So make sure that you give them a couple days to reply if need be. They might be receiving a lot of emails from other students and are overall just really busy. So make sure that if you have an assignment due, let's say tomorrow, you're not emailing them, at midnight the day before it's due, trying to get an assignment together. Make sure that you're well scheduled in advance and you get your questions answered. The final thing, might seem obvious, but avoid using like acronyms and like slang texting that you do with your friends. Keep it professional, right? Because this is your professor that can see it and everything like that. So no silly stuff. And then yeah, sign off with regards or thank you or something like that, and you're good to go. So I think Taylor wants to talk about some of the common stigmas and misconceptions about university more directly. So we'll pass it off to her.
All right, so coming into university, you may have some fears about the transition from high school to university. Maybe you're moving to a new location, or just about your future in general. And I want to assure you that university is not as scary as you may think it is. Coming into university, I kept hearing things like, you're just another number, and your grades are going to drop in university. And the most common one was, you'll never get as much help in university as you did in high school. And I quickly learned for these to be completely false. So I'm going to go through each of these stigmas, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll be less scared of going to university and more excited to go to university. So your grades will drop in university. If you work hard, study in advance, and give it your all, you will be just fine. Your grades will not automatically plummet, but I think the most important thing to remember is that one bad grade is not the end of the world. I'm still trying to learn this, as probably my other fellow students are as well, but it's not all about grades. Grades are extremely important, but it's also about what you actually know and the type of person you are. I always come back to, in my second year, I was taking my physiology course, and I'd been asked to be a TA the following year for these courses. And I put so much pressure on myself that I didn't do as well as I hoped. And within the hour, some of the profs that I now work with emailed me and said, you do realize that one grade doesn't overshine what we know you can do. And I think that's a super important message. So just don't beat yourself up over it. It will all be okay. Just work hard. The second stigma I always hear is, you're just another number. You're only just another number if you make yourself one. If you kind of sit back at the back of your classes, don't talk to your peers, don't talk to your profs, yeah, you're probably just going to be another number. But especially once we get back into the new normal, it's important to go and introduce yourself to your prof. Ask them a question. They're humans too. They want to talk to you. They want to get to know you, and they want to help you through it. So by talking to your professor and talking to your peers, it makes you more connected to your lecture. It makes you feel more part of the class, and you're going to be more interested in what you're learning, which will only help you succeed. And another way to become a part of the university is through volunteering. Volunteering really allows you to get to know your faculty, and you're going to feel more motivated to do well in your courses. And the last one, you'll never get as much help in university. This one is probably the most common one people hear, and this is not at all true. Like Leslie and Dennis also said, it isn't, the only difference between high school and university is, in high school, you probably had your teacher saying, hey, we're struggling with this a little bit. Let's come to me and I'll help you out. The difference is, in university, you need to take that initiative. You need to realize that you don't understand something, and that's okay. But go and talk to your professor. So there's a few steps if you're struggling. First of all, do the research yourself. That's part of being an adult and getting to that next step, the professionalism. So you need to look in your notes, look in your textbook, or if it's about your degree, look on the U of M website. That search bar is so good at finding the resources you need. And then if you're still struggling, ask your professor. Ask them after class. Likely it'll be through email, especially right now. Or if you're struggling with a degree option, ask an advisor, and they'll be able to guide you in the right direction. And lastly, especially for academics, if you're still struggling after talking to your professor, get a tutor. It's okay to have a tutor. Just because you have a tutor doesn't mean you're not smart. It means you're extremely smart, that you know that you need that extra bit of help, and that's all right. So on the next slide here, I've listed just a couple of the resources. This is by no means a complete list. But again, the most important part is that you take that initiative to reach out and utilize these resources. So the first one is student accessibility services. If you have a mental illness or a physical disability, really these guys are the ones to go to. They can help you get through your degree. like maybe you need a note taker, maybe you need a time extension, a separate room, they'll be able to accommodate your needs. Career services, if you're struggling to kind of figure out what your end goal is, they're great at pointing you in that right direction. Of course, our academic advisors are awesome at making sure that you're completing your degree and working through all those potential professional career options. And one that a lot of people, including myself, forget about is the Academic Learning Center. So these guys, if you don't know how to study for an exam, or maybe you don't know how to write an exam, lots of you probably have not written a multiple choice exam, which is what a lot of your university exams are going to be. So they can kind of help you through that. And there's also academic writing tutors, which I highly recommend if you have a university paper. They take a look at your paper and really move it from the high school level to the university level. So take advantage of all of these resources. So we're just going to tell you on the next slide here about some of the struggles we've all had.
Right, yeah. So kind of the overarching theme in the story that I'm going to tell is kind of about career change. So as I told you guys earlier, I'm completing my 4th year in my Bachelor of Arts psychology degree, but it wasn't always that way. When I first entered university, I had the plan that I was going to be an engineer when I was older. So I entered engineering through direct entry, and I did my 1st year in engineering. I even declared my major in my 2nd year. But at some point in my 2nd year, I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. And I kind of had the realization that, you know, maybe being an engineer for the next 40 years of my life isn't really something that I want necessarily. So, you know, I kind of had that tough conversation with myself and kind of looked in the mirror about it. And I reached out to some of the services that Taylor mentioned. She talked about the career services and how valuable they are. They were really helpful for me, and we sorted out some of the things that I'm most interested in, and some of my hobbies and kind of the way that I want to be working when I'm older. And we kind of identified some other possible career paths that I wanted to go on. So with that being said, it looked like doing a field where I'd be helping people directly would be most suitable for me. And I got into psychology shortly thereafter in my 3rd year of university. And then I changed my major, which is completely normal. So you might find yourself a couple years down the line wanting to do something different than what you started. And that's completely okay. You know, a lot of people have a moment in their university study where, you know, they find out that that's not what they want to do and they want to do something else. That's completely normal. And if that's a position that you're in, you're not alone, and feel free to access the services that we have on campus, and they will very gladly guide you in the right direction.
So one of my struggles is with mental health. In my grade 10 year, I was diagnosed with anxiety spectrum disorder leading to psychological blackouts. So basically my mind kind of shuts down in stressful situations. So as you can probably guess, causes a little bit of trouble when you're talking about academics. And I was told, and I quote, I have to get over it before I got to university. And when I attended the Evening of Excellence in my grade 12 year, I was pleasantly surprised that that's not the case. I spoke to accessibility services, and they told me, no, you can get all these different resources. I was still able to get my separate room. I was still able to get my time extension, and that really helped ease the nerves that I had coming forward. But another thing that's really helped me get to a better mentally positive place is through outreach and volunteering. In that same grade 12 Evening of Excellence, I met a professor who really showed me the importance of outreach. And when I attended my first class, he instantly recognized me, and within a month I was volunteering at the Evening of Excellence. And from there, it really got me encouraged and motivated to do these outreach opportunities. And it gave me the connections that could guide me through all the struggles that I've had throughout my university time. And it made me feel comfortable at such a large school, which I didn't think I'd ever feel. And the biggest thing it gave me was confidence. If you would have asked me a year ago, there would have been no way that I would do a presentation like this, let alone TA my own lab. So it really gave me the confidence to do different opportunities. So if you are struggling with mental health, don't be discouraged. You'll be just fine in university, and I highly recommend doing some outreach.
Wow, thanks, Taylor and Thomas. I absolutely love your stories. I was hoping to touch on, in my story, how to deal with university if you have a medical condition. So for myself, when I was in my second year of university, I was actually diagnosed with something called Crohn's disease. And for those who don't know that, Crohn's disease is an inflammatory bowel disease, and this causes a large subset of issues like rapid weight loss, malnutrition, and extensive pain in your gut region. And it's very hard to focus, especially when you're having one of these flare-ups with Crohn's disease. So in my second year, when I was diagnosed, the pain actually got so intense that I was hospitalized. And because of my hospitalization, I missed my final exam. However, I did contact my professors and I did contact the wonderful academic advisors, and they were able to grant me what's called an exam deferral. So it allowed me to write my exams later in the winter term. Now, this wasn't necessarily a solution to my problem, just because writing your exams after the fact in another semester can actually be more challenging. So when you're taking exams in the winter term from the fall, then you're going to need to study throughout the whole winter break. And then once you start a new semester of university, you're going to be, you're going to have twice the workload. You're going to be finishing up last semester while starting a new one. So it gets extremely difficult. So I'd only recommend deferring your exams if you have a serious medical condition or a serious compassionate reason. Now, Crohn's disease is a lifelong disease. I do take medication for it, and those medications do sometimes have side effects that affect my university study. However, up till now, the pure perseverance and support of students, staff, and really the whole university community has allowed me to push forward in my degree. And there was a point back in my second year where I thought that my grades would plummet and that I wouldn't even be able to finish university. However, I'm living proof that that's not true. I'm in my fourth year now doing my honors in biological sciences, and I hope to graduate next year. So my recommendation for anyone dealing with hardships with medical conditions, push forward, get the help you need, talk to your professors, talk to the academic advisors, and have a positive outlook on life, because it really helps in terms of, continuing your studies.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for talking about your experiences. We have time for question. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here. So let's just take a look at the chat. So we just have one question in the chat so far. So if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute yourself too. The question in the chat is, once we make our timetable, should we send it to an advisor so we know that we took the correct courses for our degree program? You don't necessarily have to send it to an advisor. If you're running an audit through Achieve, if you're checking the first year planning guide or the academic calendar, you can use those resources for degree completion to show you where you are in the degree. You're always welcome to talk to an advisor about your courses. During the summer, it will just take a long time to get in touch with an advisor. So we just recommend using those resources first and then coming to an advisor for help. Let's see here. What are some of the different opportunities you have had for volunteering? Do the students want to talk a little bit about that?
I can talk about that for sure. Volunteering, there's so many options. If you even talk to some of your professors, they'll put you on a list to get all those emails. But some different events are the orientation, not this semester, but I think they're still looking for some volunteers. You can do orientation. There's normally a lab trek in September. There's also the Evening of Excellence and open house. And the biggest one probably would be the Science Rendezvous. This happens in May. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to have it with all of the COVID situation, but they are always looking for thousands of volunteers. There's, I believe, 3 days of it. And so if you're interested in any of those opportunities, I highly recommend reaching out to your professor. You can always ask really anyone. You can ask your advisor. They would be able to kind of point you in different directions. So just reach out for them, and there's tons of opportunities.
Yeah, I would also even say like the Science Student Association is a great place to get in touch with you for volunteering. Student Life Office is a great place to go to as well if you want to do something outside of science or with the university. There's lots of offices on campus that can help with volunteering too. And you'll probably even get emails to your My Manitoba account with opportunities to volunteer too from other offices on campus. What is the criteria to transfer from University 1 to the Faculty of Science? So you need to have completed 24 credit hours in order to transfer from University 1 to the Faculty of Science. I believe for this year, the transit date or the transit function on Aurora opened on June 15th. So if you've completed 24 credit hours by June 15th, you can choose to transit from U1 to Science, and you can transit up until you register for courses for the fall semester. So you still have some time to transit if you haven't yet. If you meet the requirements for a major degree in science, you can transit directly into that major degree through Aurora. I would suggest running an audit through Achieve or checking the academic calendar to make sure you meet those requirements before you pick the major. If you are interested in going to an honors degree, it is something that you'll have to talk to an advisor with after you have transited. Will I get all updates and notifications directly to my Manitoba email? That is the direct communication line, goes right to your email. You'll get lots of notifications about things going on campus, but it's always really good to check the website. I believe there's a weekly newsletter that gets sent out, and it should go to students too, so that's something to look for in your email as well. But just always take a look at Science's website, take a look at the university's website, look for the newsletter, just so you can kind of be up to date on what's going on at the university. In which year will I get to choose my major if I take admission in University 1 program? So if you go directly into University 1, you do your first year there, and then everything you've done in University 1 comes with you to science. So as long as you've met the requirements to enter a degree, you can declare your degree as soon as you come into science. You don't have to. You can declare a major or honors program at any point throughout your degree. So if you want to come to science, take a term or two of courses and declare later on, you can. It might be something to talk to an advisor about depending on the program you want to go into when you should look at declaring your major, just because some programs have different requirements and you need to be in a program to take certain courses for that degree. So if you're in your second year after U1, it'd probably be best to talk to an advisor. Will we still be able to volunteer this fall? Good question.
I could probably talk about that.
Sure.
So, yeah, so that's a very complicated question because we have so many different programs available on campus, and each one will have their own different requirements of how they'll be socially distancing through the fall term. I assume there might be some programs that will allow for online volunteering, like perhaps Let's Talk Science will probably want to do something. However, I believe most of the regular volunteering opportunities for the fall will be canceled. But you'll have to look program to program to actually determine that.
Thank you. How do I contact an advisor? So right now we are available through email and phone. Sydney can link our website into the chat. So you can go to the science website, and then the academic advisors have their own page. So you can get our contact information there. When you send us an email, please include as much detail as possible about what you would like to speak with an advisor about. We'll look over your questions and decide whether or not an appointment is necessary. Most of the time we can answer your questions through email, but you're always welcome to make an appointment with us too. Does the university allow us to declare a minor in a different area in science along with our science major? So yes, you can declare a minor if you're in a major or honors degree. And most of our programs, you can declare a major in anything. It can be another science department, or it can be from outside of science as well. Always best to check with an advisor before you officially declare a minor.
Yeah, an example of that is I'm a honors biological science student, but I have a chemistry minor. So you can definitely have a science minor with a science major or honors degree program.
When we are looking up classes on Aurora, under the location column, is it science labs or at the M location? What does this mean?
So M means main campus, I believe, if that's correct. Yeah.
I think so. Although labs for this year, unless the schedule started to come out for the labs, it'll be a little bit different. So details for the lab will be in your syllabus that you receive on the first day. So it was just posted there in the chat about labs.
There's one thing I wanted to mention too. On Tuesday, Thomas and I will actually be doing an Instagram takeover for the @UM student Instagram account. And we'll be showing you all what exactly are prerequisites, co-requisites, how to do registration, how to timetable, how to use Achieve. So feel free to hop on Instagram on Tuesday, June 30th, and we'll be there to show you guys some cool features on Aurora.
So some of the lab sessions are in person, and I am an international student, so do I need to immigrate to Manitoba? If you are planning to not be in Winnipeg for the fall semester and you want to take lab courses, first of all, that we ask that you plan your course registration very, very carefully for the fall term. For courses that do have labs, there will be an opportunity to take a section where you have to come to do on-campus lab work during the first 2 weeks in January. So if you do decide to take a course with a lab and you're not in Winnipeg, you will need to be in Winnipeg depending on quarantine times and travel restrictions before that period in January. So let's say you do still need to do a 14-day quarantine period. You do need to be in Winnipeg in December. And you also need to get approval to take these courses, this section of the course in January. But again, if you're an international student, I would suggest not loading up your fall term with lab courses, possibly maybe take one, and then look to take some other courses as well that can be used as like electives or don't require a lab. Will res move-in be before in-person labs? Unfortunately, I don't know too much about residents and what's going on for the fall term. Does anybody else know what's going on with residents?
I believe that they are letting students come in for the fall, but it's their decision whether or not to do that. But again, yeah, you might want to check with the people over at residence just to be sure, and they'll have the most up-to-date information.
Okay, are there any other questions that we have? When can we hear about a mission from Arts 1110? Is that something that you're doing with the Summer Advantage program? If it is, it's all done through University One and Orientation. So I would suggest maybe contacting them to see what's going on with the Summer Advantage program. Um, okay. Oh, if you just go onto the university's website and search for University One or orientation, you can find their contact information. Or even if you search for Summer Advantage program, the search bar is really good for finding information. Okay. Thank you all for coming and checking out our presentation. Once we're done on Friday, the presentations will be posted to the orientation website so you can view them again if you have any questions. Thanks so much.